All right, we are live. How's it going, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. Today is February 14th, 2018, Valentine's Day. I don't know about you, but yay, maybe? I don't know. I've been in a relationship for the last 9 years, so Valentine's Day for me doesn't necessarily mean, I think, as much as it does for other couples. Considering that we just had our first child, we're both exhausted, and we're like, hey, do you just want to go get some takeout, watch a movie, and hang out? And it's kind of like, yeah, that sounds nice. That sounds good. So we'll probably just end up watching a movie tonight, which is all well and good because tomorrow night I get to go see Black Panther, and I am excited as hell to go see that. Also, tomorrow I'll be talking about, I thought about talking about it today, but I didn't because it's not technically the 10-year anniversary. However, tomorrow marks the 10-year anniversary of George Romero's Diary of the Dead. And I'll be talking about that tomorrow a little bit. But also, today marks the 10th anniversary, and this is a really arbitrary anniversary, but it's the 10th anniversary of the very first trailer release for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It happened February 14th, 2008 at approximately 8 o'clock in the morning on Good Morning America is when they dropped that trailer. And man, I remember sitting there in my room. I got up early. I watched the stream. I had my Hot Pockets for breakfast because I clearly can't eat like a rational adult. And ultimately, that is where things were. I remember getting excited. I watched the trailer multiple times, went to the theater that night to see Diary of the Dead. They actually had the trailer in theaters. So I ran into another theater to go watch it on the big screen the first night it came out. And even now, 10 years later, I still think back on that trailer and go, yeah, that was good. The movie I like still, obviously, but there's some things there, and there's some problems with it that people have, but I think it's one that gets better with age, which is really, really, really interesting to me. So today we got a fair amount of stuff to go through here, and I am looking forward to talking about it because there's I didn't stream yesterday, and I want to apologize for that simply because my daughter. She is going through, I think, a growth spurt, so she has very much a mind of her own and doesn't want to be far away from her father. So she just wants to cuddle up on me, and that's that, and it makes it very difficult to sneak away for an hour to get work done, which is why things are going to be a little bit wonky in terms of the timing of the streams. Just so you guys know, it will be on a sliding scale from like 1 to like 3 p.m. is about when they're going to go up. Keeps you guessing, keeps things fresh and new and exciting, right? To quote the old Love Boat song, like Love Boat, exciting and new, except it's not, it's just me talking to you guys about what's going on in Hollywood. So first things first, Quentin Tarantino obviously is a big thing right now. You know, he's coming into his ninth movie, I think is what this one is, his ninth film, and it's going to be going over to Sony. First time he's left Harvey Weinstein's teat in a long time. I mean, arguably, understandably, as to why, but because of that controversy surrounding Harvey Weinstein and more importantly, Uma Thurman on the set of Kill Bill, we come across this story where Sony is reportedly having second thoughts on Tarantino's new film. And this is not where Tarantino wants to be. Now, just to be clear, if something does go tits up with this particular film, he'll go and find a distributor elsewhere, but the budget may take a hit. This is one that I do think he got $100 million for through Sony or something along those lines, and they very much want to work with them. But if they're reconsidering how they want to approach this because of the whole Me Too movement, it's going to be interesting if that happens, because I think it will really alienate a lot of Tarantino fans from being sympathetic to the overall movement. Now, it says here, Tarantino has been having a lot of bad time in the press lately, with the filmmaker coming under fire for his involvement in a driving stunt mishap on the set of Kill Bill, which left actress Uma Thurman injured, as well as the resurfacing of a 2003 Howard Stern interview where he offered some controversial comments on the Roman Polanski rape case. And yeah, those are pretty controversial. That entire story in and of itself is extremely controversial, and there are many people out there that have many different takes on it. I would recommend, if you are unfamiliar with a lot of that or only know like the base story, go and look into it a little bit more. It doesn't make it any better. It doesn't alleviate or absolve Polanski of his crimes, but it gives you a solid understanding of maybe why people in Hollywood have kind of rallied behind him. There's more there than the general public knows, and that's kind of what Tarantino was talking about, in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying his comments are good. I'm just saying like there's a certain level of context that people in the industry have versus those that are just kind of from the peanut gallery, which I think is one of the things that really causes for a lot of miscommunication these days. Now, it says, according to Showbiz 411, the bad publicity surrounding Tarantino has resulted in Sony Pictures having second thoughts about his new movie, set to the backdrop of the Manson family murders in 1969, of which Polanski's wife Sharon Tate was one of the victims. Now, yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense as to why that would be one of those things that they would want to maybe distance themselves from, where he came out and was all like, it wasn't really rape. I mean, like, you know, she was into it. That whole thing. My Tarantino is terrible, but given that happened and he wants to talk about this from the Sharon Tate, murder perspective, or the Manson family murder perspective. But one thing you have to understand, though, is like those two incidences didn't happen like immediately following one another, right? Like Polanski, his wife was pregnant at the time when Sharon Tate died. She was with child, and that threw him into a very dark place. And I'm not saying it excuses anything that he did in regards to that 13-year-old girl, but it gives you kind of like a setup for events in terms of leading down that dark path. Whereas if she hadn't been killed, if the Manson family murders hadn't happened, that 13-year-old Norman Polanski would have never been in a hot tub at Jack Nicholson's house. So you can kind of see that there's like a chain of events here that kind of leads to the situation. Now, I don't know if this particular film is going to even remotely touch upon that. I don't think that it would, given the controversial nature of it, but that, of course, is being used as a bad publicity thing against Tarantino. Now, the site claims that the project is now in serious jeopardy and may not get made at all, although there is always the prospect of Tarantino taking it to another studio or finding independent financing. That being said, with the budget reportedly in excess of $100 million and the subject matter controversial, it may not be too easy to raise the necessary fundings. As if Django Unchained was not controversial. I mean, like, there were so many people that were like trying to rally against that movie, even though most people genuinely liked it. And I'd go as far as to say genuinely loved it. So him being controversial as a filmmaker is nothing new, right? Nothing new at all. So, taking place in Los Angeles during the summer of 1969, the as-yet untitled film is set to star Leonardo DiCaprio as the former star of a hit Western show who is now looking to revive his career by moving into movies. A host of actors have also been linked to the project, including Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and Samuel L. Jackson. And the thing is, if there's a lot of heat on this movie, Cruise, Pitt, Robbie, probably not Jackson because he's worked with Tarantino multiple times, but Cruise, Pitt, and Robbie probably will, in fact, bail out. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate that this is kind of where things have gone to. Now, some have argued that his situation involving Uma Thurman and the Kill Bill stunt situation is, like, that's another factor in here as well. Because if you look at the crash footage, like there was a lot that went wrong. I'd say everything went wrong, and Tarantino himself has apologized for that. Uma Thurman has accepted his apology for that, and she acknowledges that. I find it interesting that that particular bit of information came out at the same time as her accusations against Harvey Weinstein. One of those, it kind of felt weird to conflate those two together, but at the same time, you can understand, why, right? And so Tarantino, I don't think will have a problem going to another studio. And Sony may actually at this point be willing to pull the plug simply because they've had a run of good luck lately with Jumanji coming out over $800 million, Spider-Man doing quite well, Baby Driver doing quite well. Sony's actually looking okay, even though they acknowledge that they have to change in order or innovate in order to stay in the game. They've still done enough to kind of keep themselves above board, and they may not want to look at this Tarantino movie that has a budget of in excess of $100 million, probably because they may think that due to the subject matter, given the climate right now, it won't make that kind of money. If you want my honest opinion, Sony could use this actually as a bargaining chip to lower the budget, to slash the budget down. Like, look, we're not going to give you $100 million. If you want to make this movie, we'll give you 50 or something, or 60 or something. They're going to try to bargain to cut the price down in order to save them on the back end in case this film is a flop, but at the same time, not want to possibly walk away from the opportunity of winning several Academy Awards while being the studio that produced and distributed the film, because that's another part of it too. Sony hasn't had even with Sony Pictures Classics, hasn't really done much that's gotten them in awards, and that the accolades are what everybody wants, right? And so Sony, I think, to prove their value as a studio, would still want to go for the award circuit. So walking away from a Tarantino movie just seems to seem kind of dumb in that particular regard, at least to me. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think things are going to be okay, but they're going to use this as a bargaining chip in order to see if they can get themselves a better deal. And now the question is really going to boil down to Tarantino's ego. Will Tarantino actually sit there and take the L in terms of budget in order to see his work completed? And I honestly cannot say if he will. His ego is pretty notorious throughout Hollywood, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. No, seriously, Tarantino's not crazy, but he has pissed off a lot of people in Hollywood. Like a lot of people. So again, it's one of those things. All right. So okay. Disney may not get... Oh, yeah, right. I forgot about the Disney Fox thing. Or the Comcast thing. That was something I had brought up to do a story on. We're going to have to figure that one out at this point, because I just made a mistake on that one. Okay. Jump over to this one here. This actually super disappoints me. I don't know if you guys have seen the show Disjointed on Netflix. It is a multi-camera pot store comedy starring Kathy Bates, and it's funnier than shit. Like, it's surprisingly good, with a couple elements that are not good. Most importantly, this guy right here, who his subplot involving like fucking the literal embodiment of the spirit of marijuana of Mary Jane, is just, it gets a little bit surreal, a little bit out there. But overall, the sitcom nature of the comedy works really well. And the fact that they can swear and smoke pot, and they make a lot of really sexual humor, sexualized jokes, is just hysterical. Now, it says here that Netflix has extinguished Disjointed. The streamer has pulled the plug on the Kathy Bates fronted pot comedy after one buzz-deprived season. And that's unfortunate, because it's a super funny show. Like, critics, I wouldn't expect critics to like it. I wouldn't, but everyone I've talked to who's seen it freaking loves the hell out of it. I don't even like I know people who don't even smoke weed who watch the show, and they're like, that was really damn funny. Now, co-created by Chuck Lorre, the series found Oscar winner Bates playing the owner of a Los Angeles marijuana dispensary. And the cast also included Mozart and the Juggles' Aaron Morton, The Flash's Tone Bell, and Another Period's Betsy Sidaro. And the second half of the show dropped last month, so there are 20 episodes total, and they're pretty damn good, with the exception of this guy having sex with the literal embodiment of, marijuana. That whole thing went on too long. And then, of course, in the latter half of the season of the 20 episodes, he gets into this one pot, like this one AI controlled like hydroponics unit wants to take over the world, and it sounds like Morgan Freeman, and that was really dumb as well. But the other stuff was really good. That guy can be removed from the show. His whole plot line can be removed, and I think the show would be a lot better. But it's unfortunate that this happened. And I think one of the reasons why I went to Netflix ultimately was simply because, network TV was moving away from the 3-camera, comedy, right? And they wanted, or the multicam comedy, they wanted to go to single camera. And this was straight up a multicam sitcom on Netflix that had all sorts of swear words in it, and a plot line revolving around one girl making edible shitballs, right? Like fudge swirls infused with weed. And that was an entire subplot that was pretty damn funny. I can see ultimately why they probably canceled it, but I think as a fan of the show, I'd like to see them give it a third season and, like, you know, fix some of the dangling plot threads and maybe get rid of some of the characters and little things that don't add to the show, and then go from there. Because the idea of the show ultimately is about, like, healing. At least that was, like, the first half of the season. A lot of it had to do with, like, healing and trying to, like, help one of the guys get over PTSD, and he would have these flashbacks that would really kind of take the show out of its comedy tone, and then of course the dude, you know, again, having sex with a marijuana ghost, a little bit weird there as well, but everyone else seemed kind of normal and grounded and had their own lives. I don't know, I actually surprisingly really enjoyed Disjointed, and I'm pretty ticked off that it's gone, but at least I can rewatch the 20 episodes, and I will, because of Dank and Dabby. Those two characters are downright fucking hysterical, and I do hope they actually get their own spinoff down the road. However, I don't know if they could run their own show. If they could be the center, but as secondary characters, and in the back 10 episodes of the season ended up getting a lot more screen time. They kicked some serious ass and were a lot of fun to watch. And have you guys seen this one yet? Disjointed was not insultingly bad. It was fucking hysterical, man. Like, I laughed my goddamn ass off of that show. It's called Disjointed. It's a pot comedy on Netflix. I like it. I think it's funny. I am bummed that it is over. I am disappointed that it is gone. Because that's sad to me. Because, you know, they'll renew shit like you know, they'll renew some pretty bad shows, but then they end up, you know, like they renew. Okay, like Kimmy Schmidt, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is one that it's time to pull the plug on. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. That show was really good the first 2 seasons. Season 3 was pretty bad. Not bad, but not funny. Season 4 is going to be broken up into 2 halves, right? So they got like season 4, the first 6 episodes are going to come out in May, and then like the last 6 episodes are going to come out towards the end of the year. I don't really know why they're doing that, why they're going to break it up, but it's a show that's ultimately run its course from the premise. And Ellie Kemper is kind of like plucky, happy-go-lucky. Kimmy Schmidt, for me, has kind of just been like, I'm tired of it. I'm also tired. I like Titus, but Titus's actions aren't changing. He's not growing as a character, I mean, kind of, with him hooking up with Mikey and then their whole breakup. But then he just went on that whole, I'm going to copy Beyonce on everything shit. And it lost me. It lost me. So should you go and get high and watch? Yeah, sure. It's funny to watch if you're not high too. So there's definitely that. You've watched almost no Netflix original shows. They're pretty good. So there's definitely that. We didn't talk about Star Trek news because the reports on Tarantino. Did I say Star Trek? I did, didn't I? I fucked that one up. I did. I fucked that one up. That's my bad. That is. I don't know why I thought that. I totally screwed that up. I'm gonna go change that title. That is my mistake on that one. I had what it was is, as I was writing it out, I had read someone's comment somewhere talking about Tarantino and Star Trek, so I made a huge mistake on that one, and that's on me. That's actually on me. I feel really dumb about that because I should be more careful. So yeah, I'm sorry. I misled some of you guys here. That is not my intent at all. Okay, hold on. Let me just bring this up here. I meant to say in Sony. I meant to say in Sony Pictures. I don't know why I thought Star Trek. So that's fuck. I feel bad. Like that screws me up because I feel like a dumbass now, and that's not my intent. So if you guys were here for all that jazz and then you're upset, I completely understand. I do. I totally understand. Okay. I haven't seen 13 Reasons Why yet. I haven't seen that show yet. I've heard it's good. And they also, because of the situation involving the writer of the book, like they're moving away from him in season 2. Okay, so also real quick, just because I got to plug it, if you guys want, there's 83 of you in here right now, or 85 of you now. If you want to go ahead and smash on that like button, help get me up to at least 50 would be fantastic. We're at 14, try to get it up there. Again, if you also want to help support the show, there are links below in the video description. There is Streamlabs, there is Patreon, There's a lot of other ways. There's super chat, all that jazz. It really does help the show keep going. And hopefully one day we'll be able to get to a point of where I can just do this and then leave this up, and then that's not going to be having to always segment out all the video clips. But it does help for growth, just so you guys know. James Carmichael, you're hearing a lot of meh with Black Panther. That's unfortunate, man, because I'm hearing a lot of like, woohoo, Black Panther. That's what I'm hearing. Let me see. Rotten Tomatoes, Black Panther. Let's see. What are we seeing here? It's at 98% certified fresh. There's no audience score yet, but there's 150 fresh reviews and 3 rotten reviews, and apparently 2 of the 3 rotten reviews come from Australia, right? Or come from does it come from Australia or come from Ireland? I think 2 from I think it's like 1 from Ireland and like 2 from Australia or something is what I read, and that's kind of funny to me. That's pretty entertaining. All right, yeah, the 3 rotten ones are coming from Irish Independent, the Daily Telegraph, and the Urban Cinephile. Where the hell's the Urban Cinephile? Where's that from? So let's see here. It's a tomato meter approved one. Let's see. Doesn't really say where it's from. I don't know, but it's definitely not. Oh yeah, urbancinephile.com.au. So yeah, there are 3 rotten reviews for it. We can it's basically just all saying that the dialogue and the plot are crap, but the action's good is what you basically see. So something there to keep in mind of. All right, so let's take a look here. Next story up here. This is a big one. This is actually a huge story when it comes to Netflix really finding ways to screw over network television. Because let's face it, as much as Netflix is doing well in terms of like movies or TV shows, they really want to take a bite out of the establishment, which is one of the reasons why they got the Shonda Rhimes deal over at Netflix. Chuck Lorre from Big Bang Theory, of course, I just talked about how they canceled Disjointed, but he's still making comedies for them. Now they've got Ryan Murphy in a $300 million deal, saying Netflix has signed Ryan Murphy to a multi-year deal to make new series and films, poaching the Emmy-winning producer away from his current studio home at 20th Century Fox. Well, they probably also came in on this too because they realized that when 20th Century Fox goes over to Disney, provided that Comcast doesn't get in the way, a lot of the Ryan Murphy produced content, American Horror Story, American Crime or whatever it is, and a few of the other things are going to be a little bit too risque for what Disney wants. Even though they claim that won't change, that will eventually change. I don't think there's any way around that. If Bob Iger is not there to protect the integrity of the 20th Century Fox division of Disney, then it's going to go a whole bunch of homogenized PG-13 shit. Now, it says the deal will come into effect in July, and it's reportedly a 5-year arrangement that could be worth up to $300 million. The pact presents another talent coup for Netflix, which last summer poached Shonda Rhimes away from Disney's ABC. So Netflix really does want to try to go after, they really do want to go after Disney here. I think that's abundantly clear. All right. And Disney, I think they're doing this as a way to get ahead of the Disney streaming service. Now it says Murphy, best known for Nip Tuck and Glee, and also a prolific writer and director, was thought to be considering new options in advance of the expiration of his 20th Century Fox deal. If he had renewed the deal, he may have ended up working at Disney, which has agreed to buy assets from Rupert Murdoch's 21st Century Fox, including his television production division, and is planning to launch a general entertainment streaming service of its own in 2019. Now, Emmy winner Murphy was already set to make 2 series at Netflix. Ratched, an upcoming drama based on the character from the classic feature One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Oh, wow, so they're making, Ratched. They're making a show based around Nurse Ratched. That will be fun, said no one ever. And The Politician, a 1-hour comedy series that got a 2-season order from the streaming pilot just last week. So it makes sense that they want to bring him in and lock him down. They like it, so they're going to put a 5-year ring on it. Now, Murphy's current series include American Horror Story, Feud, Pose, and American Crime Story, and all for Fox's FX cable channel, 911 on Fox Broadcast Network. He also wrote and directed the feature films Running with Scissors and Eat, Pray, Love. No one ever cared about Eat, Pray, Love. It's mocked now way more than it is appreciated. In a statement, Murphy emphasized his company's effort to promote diversity in the U.S. television business, saying the history of this moment is not lost on me. I'm a gay kid from Indiana who moved to Hollywood in 1989 with $55 in savings in my pocket, so the fact that my dreams have crystallized and come true in such a major way is emotional and overwhelming to me. And that is a solid, you know, Hollywood dream statement right there. I moved from Indiana to Hollywood in 1989 with $55, and nearly 30 years later, I just signed a deal for $300 million. Bam, bitches. You know what I mean? Like, it's good. I think anyone who moves to Hollywood wants to eventually have a story like this. Now, he goes on to say that I'm awash in genuine appreciation for Ted Sarandos, Reed Hastings, and Cindy Holland at Netflix for believing in me and the future of my company, which will continue to champion women, minorities, and LGBT heroes and heroines. I'm honored and grateful to continue my partnership with my friends and peers at Fox on our existing shows. What does this essentially mean is that Fox is probably going to end up canceling American Horror Story, American Crime Story, Feud, and Pose. 911 is getting decent ratings right now, but as soon as it starts to dip, Fox is going to drop it to a Friday night time slot and then pull the plug on it. Fox is nothing if not vindictive, and it will take time in order to for this Disney deal to go through, and so they may just not renew these shows because he's moving over to another network. And Ryan Murphy has been around long enough where he's commanded a big enough presence and connectivity with actors that the actors that are currently on those shows will probably follow him over to Netflix, further taking that talent away from network television and bringing it over to the streaming service. What we're getting into now essentially is a gigantic game of chess between Netflix and Disney. Ultimately, it's a weird theory, but I think it's one that kind of plays out. And this is where billions and billions of dollars are at stake. And as fans of content, and also for me talking about it, so punditry, I'm looking forward to it. Now, Netflix chief content officer Ted Sarandos added, Ryan Murphy's series have influenced the global cultural zeitgeist, reinvented genres, and changed the course of television history. His unfaltering dedication to excellence to give voice to the underrepresented, to showcase a unique perspective, or just to shock the hell out of us, permeates in his genre-shattering work. And that's honestly one thing I'm looking forward to. Him not being limited by Fox or even limited by FX, which allows him to get away with a great deal. But imagine Ryan Murphy with literal no chains attached. I mean, Ryan Murphy unchained on Netflix, and they know what kind of content he makes. We're going to get a lot of weird, crazy stuff out of this. And that's totally cool with me. That's totally fine with me. So this deal is going to be good for Netflix. It's going to be good for Ryan Murphy, and it's going to ultimately hurt the Fox brand a little bit, which I do think is the entire point of this $300 million payout. No, I do. I really do. So I'm just saying. Are you guys talking about freaking Ben Affleck? Ben Affleck was good as Batman. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Ben Affleck was good as Batman and Batman v Superman. Justice League, he was like huggy Batman. All right. American Horror Story, I couldn't get past like 7 episodes into the first season, right? I could not get into that show. I tried to get into that show. It just did not work for me at all. I just did not like it. Not one damn bit. So, you know, okay, where am I at right now? All right, just a couple more to go. Yeah. Okay. We're running a little bit behind schedule here. So in talking about Netflix and Ryan Murphy's $300 deal and how my theory that it was definitely kind of a middle finger to the Fox Disney deal going on, what we see here is Disney coming forward and saying that they don't see their streaming service as a Netflix killer, which is funny because I think that's a load of crap, to be honest with you. I think Disney absolutely positively wants to kind of impact Netflix a little bit. Otherwise, they wouldn't go out and drop $54 billion on the Fox deal in order to get that content for streaming. All right, in order to buy that content and have access to those stories and those characters and those creations and everything else, they want it absolutely to be a take on with Netflix. Maybe not a Netflix killer, but I don't think they're looking to kill it, but they're definitely looking to wound it. It says here, while Disney's plans to enter the realm of streaming are making a huge splash in the world, the company has stated that it is not their goal to conquer competing services like Netflix or Amazon Prime. I love that they say Netflix or Amazon Prime, but they don't say Hulu, considering the fact that this deal actually gives Disney a controlling stake in Hulu, which is where we're probably going to see the majority of the 20th Century Fox adult footage, adult stuff going to, whereas the Disney streaming service is going to be more family-oriented and also just a complete home for Star Wars and Marvel content, because that's what they spent a lot of money on. Now, Disney's chief strategy officer, Kevin Mayer, who advised Disney during their landmark acquisition of Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 21st Century Fox, has said that the company's intention, that it's the company's full intention to have all their major movies released theatrically, and that they just won't jettison certain projects to their service. Yeah, come on. We know that Disney does a lot of straight-to-DVD movies. Every production studio does straight-to-DVD movies. This isn't anything new. So having stuff they want to jettison on that service is going to be a way to do that. But then again, you look at something like, let's say, Tinkerbell. The Tinkerbell movies, right? Yeah, did you know there's like 4 or 5 of them or somewhere in there? And they sell really well on home video. So Disney's not going to want to screw with that, but they'll also still release those movies to their service, which they're going to say, oh, we're not jettisoning them. That was the original intent. The original goal for these movies were to get to that, you know, to go there eventually. It's just kind of the wave of the future. They want to keep people coming back with having that monthly subscription service and paying for it, as well as paying for probably Hulu at the same time, so they can then double dip. It's not a Netflix killer, but they're definitely trying to help corner part of the market. Now, Deadline reported last night that Code Media's conference, where Mayer spoke at the company's plans for the streaming service. Mayer noted that after the 3rd consecutive year of making over $5 billion at the global box office, Disney is comfortable in its current release strategy, saying the model serves us well. I'm not sure there's an urgent need to disrupt it with the streaming platform. Disney, yeah, has a large portion of the market share, not as large as Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers already tried a standalone streaming service, and it did not do anything. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it. And as a result of that, as far as I know, it's gone. Or if it's still around, no one ever talks about it. And it's better to work with something like Netflix, get your content in front of eyeballs instead of trying to segment out their own competition. Disney is in a better position than Warner's to do something like this, simply because of the vast library of family-friendly content, even though Warner's actually takes a larger market share theatrically every single year above Disney because of how much content Warner's puts out, which is a lot. So Mayer also explained that he has a great amount of respect for Netflix and that he believes that Disney's service won't harm their inevitable competitor, saying, I personally like Netflix. They've got a great product. They do exceedingly well in the marketplace. What we're doing, we're not trying to hurt or kill Netflix. No, but you are competing with Netflix. But the ultimate point of competition is to become bigger than your opponent, which means you ultimately do want to hurt them, you want to undercut them, and you want to be on top. Disney is nothing if not very determined to be on top. All right, so even though he's like, oh, we make $5 billion, you know, consecutively for 3 years at the global box office. I mean, like, we're fine. We're fine. And Netflix is coming out dropping $8 billion a year on content. You know, like, there is strict competition there. It says Mayer was comparatively quieter about the future of Hulu, which Disney will increase their stake in from 30% to 60% after the purchase of 21st Century Fox, saying we're very much in support of growing Hulu. It's going to be big, profitable service, except right now it's not. There are like 12 million people who use Hulu compared to 100 million people who use Netflix. I think it has fewer people even than Amazon Prime, right? And so, or Amazon Instant, whatever you want to call it. And so ultimately what you're looking at here is a situation where Hulu is, it's all right. It's all right. It does okay. They offer you new TV shows sometimes. And it's this good standalone service as kind of, I guess you could say, an afterthought to Netflix. But as I've always liked to say, people out there don't want to spend more than maybe 2-3 streaming services max. Right. And the only reason why Amazon Prime or Amazon Instant has done well is because they've tied it in to the Prime membership. Oh, you want 2-day free shipping? Get this Amazon Prime. It only costs you $96 a year or whatever it's up to now. And then you get your hands on the streaming service as well. So they bundled it together. Otherwise, I don't think people would pay that close attention to it. to be honest with you. But Hulu they do because it has TV the next day. And now they offer live TV through that as well as you know, linking in Showtime and HBO. And they're trying to like kind of lump all these services and make Hulu more of a hub. And that's kind of what Disney's going to do with it in terms of linking it to their streaming service, at least in my opinion. So it says that while Disney streaming services suggested a family-friendly focus in line with the company's established image, older skewing content is expected to have a home on Hulu going forward. Disney service is set to go live sometime in 2019. And I would say it's going to probably go, you know, maybe Q3 2019, if not a little bit sooner, in order to test it. I would say, honestly, their better bet would be like summertime 2019. Get it out in May. Right. And drop it right before kids go on there to get stress tests ready for when kids are out of school, because a lot of people are going to be flooding that service. So whether or not they have the ability to maintain it, I have no idea. But I look at this sort of thing and it's like, this is a load of crap. I'm sorry. It's a load of crap. Disney is absolutely positively gunning for Netflix. Will they be able to play catch up? It may take a couple years, provided the content they create, the original content they create, is worth the price of admission and keeps people coming back and 100% clamoring for more. But we are seeing a lot of stuff right now about superhero fatigue and Star Wars fatigue. And if Disney isn't careful, they might actually run the risk of producing so much content around these particular properties that they spent billions of dollars on, that they're just going to oversaturate the market and people are just going to stop caring. And if that's what they tend to focus their stuff on, which I don't know if they're going to, because they do release a wide variety of other content. But look at the failure of Pirates of the Caribbean 5, and that was a failure. Look at the failure of the Lone Ranger in 2013. That was a pretty big $200 million failure. Disney will experiment, but they also know how to play it safe. And when they play it safe is when we get crap like Planes that nobody wants and nobody asked for. And when they canceled that quietly, nobody shed a tear. Just saying. So, Landon Legate, yes, I see that you said Melissa McCarthy is going to be in a DC movie. You don't need to repost it like 25 times. So, there's that. All right, come on, guys. 96 people. We need 14 more likes to get to 50. Let's get to 50. Hey, what's up, Macho Man? Happy Valentine's Day, too. To you as well. Can't believe it's Valentine's Day. Really, like, yeah, I'm like, you know, I'm home working. My girlfriend's probably going to want to go out tonight, but, or well, at least go get dinner. So I have to wait and see. Okay, anything else come up here that I'm missing? Okay. Okay. Where am I at? Where am I at in my stuff now? Okay, so we got two more to jet through real quick. We need a Disney Tarantino movie made by Tarantino. I agree. So, Star Wars spin-off movies are going to be the rage for a while. We know that with the release of Episode 9 in 2019, that it's going to bring about the end of the Skywalker saga, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Give us a solid, proper conclusion to that, and I will be happy, even with the fumbles of most of the plot of The Last Jedi. But I am very curious to see whether or not the Obi-Wan movie gets made. And what we're seeing here is this rumor, and this is strictly a rumor, that Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi spinoff could be filming as soon as next year in Belfast. And this has been plastered around the internet. I wanted to talk about it because of what the rumor stems from, that I just find to be very, very, very fascinating. Now, it says that rumors are spreading that a galaxy far, far away could be coming to the Emerald Isle near you next year, as Disney and Lucas are apparently planning to shoot a Star Wars film in Belfast. Now, the Belfast Telegraph reports that Jar Jar Binks creator George Lucas visited in November 2017 to check out a number of locations. And now rumors are swirling that the bearded one has given his approval for the House of Mouse to film there. Well, there's a couple things with that. One, they don't care what George Lucas thinks at all. We already know this. We already know they took some elements from what he was working on with this new trilogy, and they kind of tweaked them a little bit into this movie, but they also kind of ultimately changed the vision of Luke for the final trilogy that Mark Hamill has talked about. So they don't care what George Lucas has to say. They don't give a shit what George Lucas has to say. And so here they're saying like, well, they're going to send Lucas to Belfast in order to scout locations for an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. You know, I mean, Last Jedi with all its problems still pulled in over $1.3 billion. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy is going to sit there and be like, yeah, let's see what George has to say about this. I don't think they care. And I honestly don't necessarily think George Lucas cares anymore. I really don't. It's also being reported that the staff at Paint Hall Studios have been told to expect the Star Wars crew to turn up in and around the Titanic Quarter after filming on Game of Thrones is done and dusted, which will be very, very, very soon. A 2019 filming schedule could mean Star Wars Episode 9, but people are pointing to the project being an unannounced spin-off, reportedly rumored to be focusing on Obi-Wan Kenobi, which could be the 2020 Star Wars movie, which is true. Right now, we don't have anything lined up for 2020. We know that there are movies coming. Obviously, we're going to get 1 or 2 new Star Wars movies a year until, I would argue, the end of time or nuclear warfare destroys our entire country or world. But yeah, they're going to be coming, and we know that you got the Game of Thrones spin-off. There are those guys working on a spin-off series. So a series of films, not a trilogy, a series of films that they're going to be writing and adapting. You've got the Rian Johnson trilogy. Those are the 2 setups right now that we absolutely positively know. And otherwise, it's up in the air. And people really want to see this, you know, Obi-Wan movie. It says, we wouldn't take this as an absolute, and not only because that's such a Sith thing to do. Although we don't know what kind of story the Kenobi movie would tell, Ewan McGregor's age means it would likely be set during Ben Kenobi's exile on Tatooine, which has always been filmed in desert locations rather than a stage. And then it goes on to say, even if the studio did use scenes that took place in Star Wars elsewhere, they've always shot in Pinewood. So here's the thing: is going and shooting this kind of movie. You know, a Western, an Obi-Wan Western, which is essentially what the rumor is at this point. You know, are we going to get an Obi-Wan movie? Are we going to get an Obi-Wan trilogy of films? I would argue that if the first one does well, we would probably get more. I mean, hell, even in the contract for Rogue One, there was you know, clauses in there for the characters about getting you know, sequels and shit. Given the ending of Rogue One, I don't think that's going to happen. But ultimately, you know, anything could go down, right? Anything could happen. So if they are working on this movie, which I do feel that after Rogue One and Solo and everything else, they are clearly working on this kind of story, it probably will come out in 2020. We have heard reports recently that Ewan McGregor has been bulking up. He's been training for something, and we don't quite know what that is yet. And if it's him playing Obi-Wan and this kind of grittier Western take on the character, that could be... it could be very fascinating. And I really do hope that we get more information soon. They were supposed to announce... they were supposed to announce like a new movie in January. I kept thinking like, what is this new movie? That was the whole Game of Thrones thing. Those guys coming over. So we may not get any information on this until probably, maybe not even Comic-Con, but no, there's no D23 this year, I don't think. Maybe Star Wars Celebration will have it. But ultimately, we'll find out information as time goes on, especially if Ewan McGregor starts really bulking up and getting out there, maybe growing out his hair. People will pay attention. And I guess ultimately when that happens, we'll all just know a lot more. Yeah, really, it makes sense. Get him in there, you know. Do the movie. I say do the movie. So, all right. Ooh, 105 people watching. Fantastic. How about an R-rated Star Wars? We're not going to get an R-rated Star Wars, man. Never going to happen. They are never going to do an R-rated Star Wars movie. Because it's not worth it to them to do. You know, that's the whole point. It's not worth it for Disney to do that. Why would they? They may push it now if they do kind of a grittier take on Star Wars for like their streaming service, like something that's going to maybe, you know, be part of that whole side of things, maybe. But, you know, we'll definitely have to. Oh, anyone remember Star Wars 1313? Yeah. Yep. All right. Am I going to see Black Panther in costume tomorrow? No, I'm not. No, I'm definitely not. Okay, let's do the last one I got here. So if you guys got any questions, movie-related questions, hold them until I finish this last story. We'll talk about him for a few minutes and then I'll wrap it up. But yep, let's get into it here. So Call of Duty is a franchise that effectively has become way more cinematic over time. I would say Call of Duty Modern Warfare from 11 years ago really set the tone in terms of where the game can go, I guess, in regards to a cinematic experience. Because let's face it, Call of Duty Modern Warfare had a good story. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, especially the no Russian level, was a really, really, really impactful moment in gaming because it caused a huge controversy. And it's one of those things where you're like, wow, we're playing as the bad guys mowing down civilians in an airport. Holy God. And the stories from there have actually kind of been interesting. And they've been fun to watch in terms of being super over the top and just, you know, like it's standard. I guess the best way to describe it would be like Michael Bay type films. You watch, you turn your brain off, you know, you enjoy. So getting into doing a Call of Duty movie just makes sense because they already kind of tried this, to be fair. There's a movie that came out in 2012 called Act of Valor. It was a movie entirely shot on Canon 5Ds about U.S. Navy SEALs, and it really did feel like the closest thing to Call of Duty, the movie, that anyone has ever seen. And it's not a horrible film. Actually, it really does feel like you are watching a Call of Duty movie, but this will be a lot more high-tech and a lot crazier because apparently Sicario 2's director is in talk to direct the film for Activision Studios. Now, we know that gaming studios are very much trying to get back into the movie game. Nintendo teamed up with Illumination for Mario. Ubisoft teamed up with Universal for, what is it? You've got the Division, as well as Watch Dogs has been optioned through there. We know that Tomb Raider comes out in a couple weeks from Square Enix is getting into the game again. So they're trying their hand at it again, and they're trying to avoid stuff like Super Mario Brothers from '93, Double Dragon, Street Fighter. You know what? Actually, screw it. I love all those damn movies. I don't care. They're pure classic '90s fun to me, and I'm fine with that. But it says here that Stefano Sollima, director of the upcoming Sicario 2 Soldado, is in talks with Amazon Studios to direct a live-action adaptation of its Call of Duty series of games. As reported in Variety, Activision is quickly ramping up the adaptation for their film division and will now be looking for a writer. Well, if they're looking for a writer of a Call of Duty movie, might I recommend whoever the hell wrote Chris Morgan? Get Chris Morgan in, right? Chris Morgan wrote all the Fast and Furious movies, the last couple of those. I'm telling you, get Chris Morgan, okay? Like, if that is my number one pick for who could write a Call of Duty movie and turn it into a $1 billion potential franchise, it would be him, because he's done it multiple times. The last couple Fast and Furious movies have crossed $1 billion, right? Like, I love them. You guys know this. So I'm just saying, ultimately, get that guy in there. Now, the film will be produced by Activision Blizzard Studios president Stacey Sher and Nick Van Dyke, along with Bobby Kotick, Activision Blizzard's chief executive. Oh, great. Bobby Kotick's involved. I expect the movie now to have microtransactions. Get him out of there. Screw Bobby Kotick. No one likes Bobby Kotick. No one. Ask anyone you know who follows gaming. Be like, what do you think of Bobby Kotick? They're like, oh, that guy? Man, fuck that guy. So no plot details have been released, though Sher has said in the past she hopes to turn the franchise into another shared universe similar to that of the MCU and DC films. And that could be their Achilles heel. That could be their ultimate downfall. We've learned over the course of 2017, at least, that trying to force start cinematic universes don't really work out very well. What they should do ultimately is seriously just make Modern Warfare, right? Do Modern Warfare 2, revamp the Modern Warfare 3 storyline, and then tie it into Black Ops. Do Modern Warfare trilogy, do a Black Ops trilogy, and then have them kind of go back and forth as they've kind of done, somewhat a little bit in the games, but just have that be the shared universe. Just do that, right? And that, I think, would be the best course of action. And then, of course, getting into the other ones where, what was the last one that just came out? Infinite Warfare, was that one? Or Infinite Warfare and Advanced Warfare. Those are interesting storylines. Those could be also part of it as well. But start with the Modern Warfare. Create that. Build off of that. Go from there. Bring in Black Ops. Talk about the Cold War, the Iran Contra, controversy, all that jazz. Bring in Ollie North. Do that. Because at this point in time, start with Black Ops, Start with Black Ops, bring in all that, get that whole situation going, and tell that story, because the Iran-Contra controversy right now is relevant, because we're in an 80s nostalgia situation with Hollywood, with games, with movies and stuff, pop culture, I should say, and that again coming up again on nearly 40, over 30 years ago, is something that I think would be good. That's just what I want to say about that. Now it says here, if you want a taste of Salima's work, be sure to check out the Sicario sequel, which opens on June 29th. And other than that, there's no information. But the Sicario 2 sequel, the trailer looks pretty good. It looks pretty violent, pretty action-packed, and that's ultimately what Call of Duty is. Denis Villeneuve, who did the first Sicario, would probably take Call of Duty to more of I guess you could say, like, an avant-garde plane in terms of how you'd handle it. I don't think a slow, methodical film like Arrival or Blade Runner would be good for Call of Duty, but keep it ramped up with action. Like I said, bring in Chris Morgan, who did Fast and Furious. Make that the thing, and I think they'd have a good shot at telling a pretty solid story with good characters, a lot of action, and just give it a right budget, not too big, keep it grounded well enough, and then go from there. Here's the sad thing, and I'll catch a lot of crap for saying this. I'm actually legitimately excited for a Call of Duty movie if done right, because I've been playing that franchise for a very, very, very long time. I've always liked the franchise. I've always liked the stories that they tell, and I'm excited to see it transferred to the big screen. I really, really am. So, will this movie be first person? Probably not. Probably not. You want to see a big budget Hardcore Henry? Hardcore Henry's pretty good. Just call it Saving Private Ryan 2. Yeah, why not? All right. Water, good. I like water. Need more of it. So, okay. Fast and Furious are not terrible movies, not by a long shot. They're a lot better than you think. They're just a lot of fun. Thoughts on I know Brian Michael Bendis is doing the Kitty Pryde story. I need to do report on that one. I just, you know how it is. There's also like Melissa McCarthy is doing a movie called The Kitchen, which seems pretty interesting. I was going to talk about that too, and it just never seemed to come to fruition, unfortunately. So there is definitely that. Oh, I just got an email from Microsoft asking me to do a survey about PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds on the Xbox One. That's pretty funny. Have I seen the How It Should Have Ended for The Last Jedi yet? Justin Van Valkenburg. Unfortunately, no, I have not. It's been recommended to me multiple times. I hear it's actually pretty good. I just haven't seen it yet. So the Tarantino news is at the front of the episode. It wasn't about Star Trek. I made the mistake in terms of that. It was all about his future at Sony Pictures, which I've seen people then speculate as to that being, his Star Trek film being called into question. But I don't think that's going to happen. Have Mel Gibson direct? Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah. Apocalypto, but Call of Duty style. I'd be okay with that. So you went to GameStop and Call of Duty release pickup Tekken 6 and got some of the dirtiest looks you've ever gotten in your life. Yeah, PUBG on Xbox One is terrible. It's not terrible, actually. It's pretty good. It's still very much in the early. It was like PUBG when PUBG first launched. It will have a long way to go to get there, but they have a fast track to get there, and it works out pretty well. I play a lot of first person on there, and it's a lot of fun in first person, and I prefer that now a lot more to the third person. I've also been playing. I got Kingdom Come Deliverance yesterday. I've been playing that again. That's very cinematic. So far, really fun, albeit slow, methodical, more so than like any kind of like Oblivion or whatever. So you haven't gotten the past two CODs, but the originals are damn good. Yeah, Nasty Nate, the originals were good. I loved Call of Duty 2. Man, I played that a lot. So there's have Michael Bay direct. What is Bay? See, man, like Bay doing if Bay was going to do a Call of Duty movie, Bay would have to do like the Infinite Warfare. you know, a lot of CG, a lot of space battles and stuff. I think he could do that pretty well. I think if he did that okay, that would definitely be handled better. You know what I mean? I think that would be okay if they did it like that. So third person greater than first person? Nah. Big Red One was amazing. I never played Big Red One, but because that came out, that was Big Red One was on. It was on the Xbox, wasn't it? It was on the Xbox and PS2, and it came out like after the release of the 360, I think. Right? Is that accurate? Medal of Honor was a decent series when it started. Yes, it was. Then it went to crap. That last game that came out like in 2014, right? That's like a 5-hour campaign, and it was garbage. Oh God. Yeah. What about a Command and Conquer movie? That'd be pretty cool. I'd be okay with that. I'd be all right with that. A Command, if they did that, I mean, hell, EA could be losing its Star Wars license, so that could be a thing. That'd be pretty damn funny. If they end up losing that and stuff. So, all right, guys, it's about 5 more minutes. So go ahead and get your questions in now. We did see, I see we got here too. We got to 58, 59 likes, fantastic. So if you guys want to keep smashing on that like, or just ask your questions, then definitely let me know, because I'll be on tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday. I forget what day it is. I don't even know anymore. You know, definitely going to be doing my review of Black Panther. Going to be doing that when I get home from seeing it, before doing my nightly stream. So are you saying Macho Man, you're saying that Fast and Furious isn't about street racing anymore? Yeah. But was it ever really about street racing? Was it really ever about it? So Chaos X says, whenever you see me in a live stream but not talking, it usually means I'm playing Command and Conquer during the stream. And hell yeah, a CNC movie would be awesome. Yeah, give me like a Red Alert movie. Give me a Red Alert. Goes, you know, Einstein goes back, eliminates Hitler. Then we get all that. That'd be pretty cool. I will say that the Fast and Furious movie, yeah, they became superheroes behind the wheel of the car. Like Dom getting shot, and then like the next day he's fine. Him flying off the car, grabbing Letty, landing on another car windshield, fine. You know, him surviving the wreck at the end of number 6. Number 6 was him at his most like Superman-y. And then, of course, in number 7, when he drives head on into Jason Statham, they both have like the reinforced vehicle, the frame on the vehicle and stuff is just like, okay. And then, of course, in number 8, when he ends up becoming like Army of One. So there was that. What kids shows and movies does Fox have? Fox has they have Blue Sky. They did Rio 1, Rio 2. For a while, they were they were distributing the DreamWorks movies. Like The Croods was with 20th Century Fox. Mr. Peabody and Sherman was a 20th Century Fox. They did the Horton Hears a Who, and a couple of the Dr. Seuss, the Lorax. They did the Lorax. That was also Blue Sky. So they got some kid stuff. They do a fair amount of kid stuff too, but they're predominantly known for like the X-Men, really, I think at this point, Alien. What do I think of Kick-Ass and Kick-Ass 1 and Kick-Ass 2? We talking the movies? I like the movies. I actually really liked Kick-Ass 2. I feel like Kick-Ass 2, Jim Carrey doing that whole fucking nonsense with the guns, anti-gun shit in 2013 was just like, that really did hurt the film. But I enjoyed Kick-Ass 2 quite a bit. I love Kick-Ass 1. Like, I think Nick Cage should have gotten an Oscar nomination for Big Daddy in Kick-Ass 1. So, it's a bird. No, it's a plane. No, it's Dominic Toretto. Bow, 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 bow. So there's definitely that. What are my thoughts on the Venom movie? The trailer didn't wow me. It didn't wow me at all. A lot of people got mad at me for that too, because my tweet ended up like really going kind of viral. And people were like, it's just the teaser, bro. And I'm like, teasers are meant to kind of engage and get you to want to see it. And it was just kind of like, it was a teaser they should not have released now. I think they only released it now because it was like in the post hype from the Super Bowl, and they wanted to capitalize on the, you know, on the trailer for Solo and on the trailer for like some of the other movies that were coming out, like Pacific Rim. They just wanted, I think, to keep in the hype going in that week. So they cut together a trailer that they really should not have released. You'd want to wait for, you know, it comes out in October. You'd want to wait until like May to drop a full trailer. Like you'd want to drop a full trailer in like the same week as Avengers. So there's definitely that. You still wish there was a Hit Girl movie? Yeah, I want there to be that too. However, they just reimagined Kick-Ass as a black single mother, like army veteran, which I think that's going to be something that gets made for Netflix because Millar World sold to Netflix, and so they're going to be developing comics as well as TV shows and movies, and I think the new Kick-Ass is going to go to them. Star Wars is dead. Let's face it, it's not dead. Go ahead and watch Star Wars Rebels. That show is amazing. So there's definitely that. But okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap this one up here because we're coming up on an hour, and I just want to keep these things short, concise, and to an hour. I'll be back on tomorrow night between 2 and 3 p.m., depending on if my daughter will actually let me get my work done, and she doesn't cry and cry and cry as I'm trying to get it all done. But if you guys find any news that's interesting, go ahead and send it over my way. That'd be go to mundanematt.com/submit. Go ahead and let me know those articles. You can also find me on social media, and I do appreciate you guys watching, and I'll be back tomorrow. Have yourself a great Valentine's Day, and peace out.